Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Awesome Wanam. In tonight's program, we explore how a faith which was born in what is then known as Persia found its way to our shores 60 years ago. Like all religions, its foundation rests on love, tolerance, equality, justice, and the belief in the oneness of humankind. In the first segment, we take a look at how the Baha'i Faith found its way to Papua New Guinea 60 years ago. Through the sacrificial efforts of one young lady who carried in a heart a single strand of love for the Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i Faith. Watch next.
60 years ago, a young Australian lady of German and English heritage bravely left her home in Australia and came to her adopted country in 1954, embarking on a great adventure that would, in her lifetime, see the establishment throughout Papua New Guinea a faith that gives renewed meaning to the word religion. She climbed steep mountains, drove along tortuous roads, and sailed through sometimes stormy seas to bring the teaching of Baha'u'llah of love, peace and unity to the local people. By accepting the people's invitations to spend the night in their often humble dwellings, a practice rare for Europeans in the 1950s, Miss Honky demonstrated her commitment to the principle of the Baha'i Faith, which teaches the oneness of humanity, and she won the hearts of her hosts. A trained nurse who was widely known as Sister Vi, Miss Honky was the matron of the first integrated hospital in the country. She maintained impeccable standards in her hospitals. Her steadfast adherence to the injunctions of her faith to love all humanity and her humility made her a beloved figure. For example, she had many friends among the clergy of other faiths. Throughout the decades, she wrote countless encouraging letters to hundreds of Baha'is and other friends, some of whom later became prominent leaders in the country. In 1975, she became a citizen of the newly independent country. Miss Honky invited local people to her home in the Admiralty Islands and held first aid classes for them, which prompted criticism from members of the European community who practiced racial segregation. And as a result, the hospital authorities quickly transferred her to a hospital in Rabaul on the nearby island of New Britain. Although seemingly a setback, it turned out to be fortunate because she met up with the only other Baha'i in Papua New Guinea, Rodney Hancock, a 21-year-old New Zealander who had arrived in Rabaul about the same time that Miss Honky had first arrived in the Admiralty Islands.
The Baha'i Faith. It was in 1952. One of my aunties was one of the first Baha'is in New Zealand, and she went to a big conference in New Delhi, in India, which was held by the guardian of the Baha'i Faith, Shoghi Effendi, and he asked for pioneers to over 200 different countries in the world that there were no Baha'is. So my auntie came back to New Zealand and told me about this, and I thought, oh, I'd just become a Baha'i in 1952, and I thought, oh, well, I might go. So we sort of sat down then and we decided where to go. And New Zealand was underneath Australia and New Zealand, who were sending pioneers around the world. And Papua New Guinea was one of their goals. So I said, yes, okay, I'll go to Papua New Guinea. I had no idea where it was or who lived there. What was I going to do up in Papua New Guinea? But I thought, okay, I'll go. So I travelled to Australia. It took me 3 days on the ship, landed in Sydney, and then I had to apply for a visa to come to Papua New Guinea. It was very, very difficult at that time. I had to have £150 in the bank, and I had to have accommodation and I was supposed to have had a job. But this one, because I had no education, so I had no job. So I had to wait and wait several months before they allowed me to give me a visa to come to Papua New Guinea. But the other two I was okay with, and we left Sydney in July 1954. So I flew to Port Moresby and then to Rabaul. And that was one of the goals of our Prophet's son's plan, was the Bismarck Archipelago. So I took on that plan and stayed in Rabaul until they asked me to move somewhere else. But that was the main plan, and I stayed there for the rest of my time in Papua New Guinea.
In 1956, after being introduced to the Baha'i Faith by Miss Honky and Mr. Hancock on Manus Island, Apelis Mazakmat became the first Papua New Guinean Baha'i. Apelis was a teacher and a respected community leader from New Ireland province. When first told about the teachings of the Baha'i Faith, he said, "This is what my people need, something to unite them." In an interview with national media just before his death in 1987, Mazakmat explained his devotion to the Baha'i Faith. "I decided to join the Baha'i Faith because this religion suited my spiritual aspirations and cultural upbringing, and because it is conducive to the development of independence, self-respect, and spiritual welfare." At a memorial for Apelis Mazakmat in 1992, his close friend, former Prime Minister Sir Julius Chan, offered his tribute to his life and character. Apelis Mazakmat was a living legend in promoting and maintaining an integral approach to the development of a just and prosperous society. He was truly an extraordinary person. The pride of his life's career was his acceptance of the teachings of the Prophet Baha'u'llah. In 1977, an inspiring and warm-spirited doctor with a deep commitment to bettering the lives of the underprivileged chose to devote his intellect and expert medical skills to some of the world's most materially disadvantaged people by working in Papua New Guinea from 1977 to 79 and 1983 to 1998. His name was Cyrus Nariki, a young Baha'i doctor of Persian descent whose high caliber was demonstrated years before when he was placed first in a medical university entrance exam of more than 80,000 students in Iran. He spent much of his free time, weekends and vacations visiting remote villages to provide treatment for those with little access to medical care. His main role was combining practice as a specialist in internal medicine with his duties as Professor of Medicine at the University of Papua New Guinea. His special attention to training local undergraduate and postgraduate students meant that by the time he moved to Australia in 1998, he left behind so many highly competent and trained doctors and specialists that expatriate doctors were no longer crucially in demand. In 1999, on the recommendation of the government of Papua New Guinea, Queen Elizabeth awarded him the high honour of Commander of the British Empire. Cyrus was a shining example of the committed and dedicated pioneers who came from afar to heal and educate, said a former Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, Sir Julius Chan. He developed friendships with our people as well as built lasting institutions and learning for future generations of Papua New Guineans, Sir Julius said.
He had a very likable character. He related very well. He visited my family in my village in Pari. He went to my village many times, and we came. My father and my mother were invited by he and his family to have dinner with them, and we found him to be a wonderful guy. His relationship with the average Papua New Guinean to the village level is one of the features of his life, which relates to his belief in spirituality. And that was a part of his life that I liked and my father liked and our family liked, because we as Papua New Guineans are very spiritually now living and thinking in everyday life. And we shared we shared a lot, and he was very informative to me in relation to the religion that he's under, which is Baha'i, the religion that we follow, which is Christianity, and the other religion that he departed from, which is Islam. So in all our discussions, we didn't remain in medicine and science and clinical work only or research. We actually went as far as spirituality. And that part, the spirituality, was the one that made him go to the different villages under the Baha'i group, and I fully supported him because that's also how I relate to my village people in my role as a Christian and as an elder, now retired, and also chairman of the Pari village church. He kind of gave me some educational tips in relation to religion, about the start of religion, about Abraham and the one God with many, many different religions. We're all under the same God. You know, those were ideas and tenets that he shared with me, and I was very proud because, you know, we became Christians through the London Mission Society and United Church, and he's a guy from another religion, but we all believe that we are all under the one God. And he as an infectious disease expert, and me as a cardiologist, we kind of move out of our scientific areas, medicine area, and talk about general life and spirituality and village life and all of those. So from that viewpoint, I find him a very interesting person and a very loving person, and I miss him.
The entirety of Cyrus, his personal and professional actions, was inspired and strengthened by his Baha'i faith, an inclusive belief that expresses the oneness of humanity and the permanence of the human spirit, and that considers work in the spirit of service to others as worship to God. Soon, many others were also attracted to the Baha'i teachings, and the Baha'i community began to grow. There are now well-established Baha'i communities throughout Papua New Guinea.
The Baha'i Faith was born in what is now known as Iran over 170 years ago, during a turbulent time in history. Its progressive teachings and principles, which include the equality of men and women, the oneness of humankind, compulsory universal education, and the belief that all religion originate from one God, were not accepted by the masses and clergy. This has resulted in over 20,000 followers being put to death, many in barbarous ways.
The Baha'is are thankful for the Constitution of PNG, which ensures freedom of religion and promotes people of all faiths working together in harmony. This freedom of religion is a precious right for the people of Papua New Guinea. Sadly, not all people enjoy freedom of religion. While the Baha'is in PNG are celebrating, they are also praying for the safety of their fellow believers in Iran, who are facing a renewed wave of severe persecution, imprisonment, and even death.
I have committed no crime except being a Baha'i. Goodbye, my dear Baha'i friends. I am to be executed in 2 more hours by a firing squad. Please pray for the progress of my soul.
The people you have just seen were all executed because they were Baha'is, followers of the prophet and founder of the Baha'i Faith, Baha'u'llah. The executions took place in Iran in the early 1980s at the height of the Iranian Revolution.
The history of the Baha'i Faith has followed a pattern of crisis and victory. The Baha'i Faith began in Iran in 1844 when a young merchant declared that he was the Bab, or the gate for the coming of the promised one of all religions. Almost immediately he was arrested and imprisoned by the religious leaders of that time. Despite this unjust treatment, the new teachings were embraced by thousands of people. In 1850, the Bab was publicly executed for his teachings. More than 20,000 of his early followers were also brutally murdered throughout Iran. One of the followers of the Bab was Baha'u'llah, meaning the glory of God. He was also arrested, and while imprisoned in Iran, he had a vision that God had chosen him to reveal new divine teachings to fulfill the prophecies and renew the spiritual life of all the world's religions. For more than 40 years, Baha'u'llah was persecuted, imprisoned and exiled from his home in Iran to Iraq, then Turkey, and finally to the Holy Land, where he passed away in 1892. Despite such severe persecutions, the Baha'i Faith continued to grow and spread throughout the world. Since its beginning in 1844, it has become the second most geographically widespread religion in the world. Waves of persecution continue to threaten the lives of the Baha'is in Iran. When the Baha'i Faith first came to Papua New Guinea in the early 1950s, the persecution of the Baha'is in Iran was severe. In recent years, the persecution of the Baha'is continues in Iran.
The followers of the Baha'i Faith enjoy freedom to practice their religion under the full protection of the PNG Constitution. However, this is not the case in the land of its birth. The followers of the Baha'i Faith have faced constant, unabated persecution since its inception in the land. This persecution has taken many forms, from extrajudicial killings to arrest under false charges of being spies for Israel and America.
Since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, more than 200 Baha'is have been executed, hundreds more were tortured, imprisoned or both, and tens of thousands lost jobs, access to education and other rights. The United Nations confirms that more than 100 Baha'is are now in prison on false charges related entirely to their religious beliefs. Diane Alaei, the representative of the Baha'i international community to the United Nations in Geneva, states that this sudden spike in the arrest and detention of Baha'is highlights the fact that the government continues to persecute Baha'is throughout Iran in a wide range of ways, from blocking their access to higher education to economic sanctions to the day-to-day harassment of Baha'is when they seek to worship together. The Baha'i Faith does not have any clergy. It is administered at local and national levels by elected councils of 9 members who serve voluntarily for 1 year at a time. For more than 30 years, the government of Iran has forbidden the Baha'i community to hold these council elections. Baha'i cemeteries have been destroyed, Baha'i homes and businesses have been looted and damaged. Business licenses have been denied to Baha'is as a way to prevent them from earning adequate income. This year, while the Baha'i community in PNG commemorates 60 years of the Baha'i Faith in PNG, their hearts, thoughts and prayers are with their brothers and sisters in Iran who have been denied this vital right to freedom of practicing religion.
International law provides that access to education is a basic human right. I am grateful that in my country, Papua New Guinea, education is free for all. But this is not the case for my Baha'i friends in Iran.
Since 1979, the government of Iran has systematically sought to deprive young members of the non-Muslim religious minority, the 300,000 strong Baha'i communities, from higher education.
Authorities have also sought to close the Baha'i efforts to establish their own educational initiative, including Baha'i Institute for Higher Education.
Such acts on the part of the Iranian government are without doubt a part of a coordinated effort to eradicate the Baha'i community within the Iranian society.
Cripple the Baha'is financially so that they have no means of earning an income in the future.
To pressurize them in all forms in order for them to retain their faith.
To slowly eradicate the Baha'i community in Iran.
Another atrocity facing the Baha'is in Iran is that the government places economic pressure with both jobs and business license being denied to Baha'is.
Government jobs, not only in civil service, but also in fields such as education and law, have been denied to Baha'is.
On the 25th of October 2014, 79 Baha'i-owned shops in Kerman, Rafsanjan and Jiroft were sealed by the authorities. The owners had all closed their businesses to observe a Baha'i holy day, which apparently triggered the action. The authorities placed banners at the shops asserting that the owners had violated the rules governing business and trade practices. The fact that so many banners were ready for use points clearly to the fact that attacks on Baha'i-owned businesses were systematic and planned ahead of time.
For you, I crawl.
To cripple them financially.
For you.
In my country, Papua New Guinea, we honor and respect the departed souls. However, this respect for departed souls is not given to the Baha'is in Iran.
In April 2014, it was learned that elements of Iran's Revolutionary Guards had begun destruction of a historic Baha'i cemetery in Shiraz, apparently to make way for a new sports and cultural center. After the excavation of a large but shallow hole, demolition was halted for several months in the face of international pressure and the expression of outrage on the part of Iranians from all walks of life. But in August, reports emerged from Iran saying that the Revolutionary Guards had resumed construction on the site, removing human remains from some 30 to 50 graves and pouring a concrete foundation for the complex, which will reportedly include a library, mosque, restaurant, theatre, childcare facility and sports hall. The cemetery is the resting place of some 950 Baha'is, many of whom were historic or prominent figures in the Baha'i community of Iran. Interred at the site, for example, are 10 Baha'i women whose cruel hanging in 1983 came to symbolize the government's deadly persecution of Baha'is. In September 2014, 3 high-level UN human rights experts called for a halt to the cemetery's destruction, a plea that has so far gone unheeded. Baha'is love their country and cherish great aspirations for its progress. However, Baha'is avoid engaging in partisan politics and refrain at all times from becoming involved in the contest for worldly power. Baha'is focus their attention on working towards the greater goal of establishing a united and prosperous society and categorically reject any form of sedition or recourse to violence. Baha'is are vigorously engaged in constructive public discourse and in a wide range of social endeavors aimed at the betterment of the world and the progress of their respective nations. They undertake such activities with humility, discernment and respect for prevailing laws and social conditions in a spirit of learning and in a collaboration with like-minded groups and individuals, fully confident in the power inherent in the principles of unity in diversity and in the efficacy of mutual aid and cooperation. Young Baha'is, animated by their love for their homeland and its people, brimming with vitality and enthusiasm through prayer and meditation, and with the support and encouragement of their elders, are assisting in fulfilling their desire and commitment to contribute to the material and spiritual progress of the people of Iran. The attitude of the Baha'is of Iran could be summarized in a phrase: constructive resilience. While operating in a restrictive and oppressive environment, they neither water down their beliefs and adherence to the essential tenets of their faith, nor do they retreat from constructive involvement in society. They believe and they practice their religion as much as they are able to, and they serve the greater good of Iranian society according to their capacity and the heart that they have for their country.
Welcome back to Al-Samwanam. Let's take a look at our final segment on the Baha'i religion in Papua New Guinea.
Baha'is believe that social change starts with spirituality. The Baha'i Faith has both social and spiritual principles that have resulted in a systematic program of growth intended to build communities based on moral and spiritual principles and collective action. This system is based on several core activities: the spiritual and moral education of children, junior youth empowerment to channel and focus the energy of youth devotional meetings where prayers and sacred writings are shared among people of diverse backgrounds, and study circles where the patterns of healthy community development are learnt, practiced and applied. Baha'i children's classes aim to nurture the hearts and minds of children. The emphasis of these classes is on helping children to learn to reflect on and apply spiritual principles such as love, unity, justice to their own lives and of those around them. Based on the teachings of Baha'u'llah, the classes seek to inspire in children a love of God and His messages and of humanity in all its diversity. The classes include short lessons and activities to build friendship, games, stories, art and music.
Oh God, my heart, my desire. O Son of Spirit, my first come to these forces of pure, kindly and radiant heart. Allow name Blumiem, Glenty James, Mr. Logoro Gablok States 1. Meamas Lokamatan is la class time Liliket. Because Liliket and Milani could plant in nice for something. Migo big club, me by Lugauti community women. Imperating blame all something is la class. Me favorite activity Blumiem, writing. Basta learning block class, basta writing, draw, basta kalan, basta play, basta playing guitar, basta sing.
One of the big change can occur after or during this class, especially children's classes. Before, almost stop clean, almost cleaning house blow all, almost washing clothes blow all. After all finishing this class, now also washing clothes blow all. Now also kirap, also cleaning house blow all. And one of the big change that can occur within all. Before, almost saying pray, but now also reciting more pray. Also saying pray before sleeping and after all kirap na po.
Bitu payatang of people with with an amount of honesty. Oh God, guide me, protect me, make of me a shining lamp and a brilliance that was mighty and powerful. Tread ye the path of justice for this world, your treasure.
I'm Blomium Jacob Yak. We want like Catholic catechist. Become background Blomium, become the Christianity background. Now, people all Christian people start before me. So kisimol pigni Sunday class. Me so togolsun na kisimiko da sol Baha'i only bring manla. New program kami inside long area Blomi plan. Me lukumosem. All pigni Blomi plan. Me puti moli ko inside long. During class now, I call him one program where only so togolsem. Junior youth program. Also togolsen me puti moli sla pigni ko inside. This program kami inside long. I'm training all behave na passion na. Well, good plus sit down, but this ground, good program where all Baha'i been sim along area Blumibla. Like Mosem. Long education act or this new curriculum, people like Mosem, or this like and passing must go in Jalong. Passing line him or passing line him or passing the school more picking must have been jet must go quantum education. People must go want them. Because Gaban Blom can display country must lose or display because Mibla got a mass because display passing where blood train Maulo come up good man on display country. Now on display province in the community. I'm looking at some display program where all Baha'i Bergim Mibla master display.
Junior Youth Spiritual Empowerment Program. This educational program typically engages older youth to accompany their younger peers, aged 11 to 15, to help them develop their powers of expression, capacities for moral reasoning, and an ethic of service to others. The program combines study, mentorship, and social action.
Sometimes I go to school, sometimes I stop sleeping and nothing. Kasi bakaral kam na. Ito na sa ito sa dumapat ng class.
Now teacher bumpa kana kala ni plan te good for something and now master teacher bumpa.
So teacher so kala ni plan but of think yourself. If pasta plan but no ni good for something. Just a prepare around or making something to like people and best can start. Gona mo so teacher ka kala ni plato ko no stabi siari to reading book. Nampasa no right na. Sampai pikin ni mo so go round natin. Go still or something amato sa kam no go no swam slakan chanting no sena. Now come learning piano cleaner or something I'm making.
The book I'm currently learning is thinking about numbers. Well, it's a very good book that I see. It's really inspiring. Also, it helps me with my studies and my spiritual side. For my studies, like last year in grade 8, I didn't know how to read fluently, but when I go through that book, like I can read fluently now. And also with my spiritual side, like I never pray every day before I wake up, but now it teaches me to pray and know about God.
The junior youth program offers courses, maths, English, and so far I have covered 3 books already. Now thinking about numbers is the one which I'm about to complete. I learn educationally and spiritually about this book. Educationally, I did my grade 12 last year, but I didn't know some words like tranquility, eloquence, and noble, but now I know them and even their meanings as well. Spiritually, I learned prayers and quotations, and now I know when to say the prayers, like before eating, before sleeping. I know how to pray before eating and sleeping, and it helped develop my mindset and widen my thinking capacity, and I developed intellectually. By going to junior class, we did a service project here around this block, Goroka block, with the help of the study circle, the junior youths, and also the parents and guardians of this block, because they said that it was the first time they see such activities taking place here, so they helped us. We did this project after we covered this book here, Bridges of Confirmation, and this book is about it's a story of a girl named Musonda, how she provides service to her village people, like providing first aid and taking care of the small children.
So the period between the ages of 12 and 15 represents a special time in the life of an individual. For it is during these years that he or she that leaves childhood behind and undergoes profound change. Therefore, engaging junior youth in programs that seek to enhance their spiritual and intellectual capacities and prepare them to participate effectively in the community. There are many books focused on some of the concepts, skills, qualities, and attitudes. The set of activities is recommended by RIU Institute. It's generally conducted in small groups at local level.
Study circles are a decentralized and participatory approach to learning where groups of friends or neighbors engage in study of the Baha'i writings and develop their capacity to serve their community. Study circles are facilitated by a trained tutor who also accompanies the participants in their learning. Devotional gatherings. A regular gathering of people from all faiths and backgrounds who come together in a locality to share prayers and worship. Often held in homes or neighborhoods or community centers, devotional gatherings are considered an essential practice of the spiritual well-being of a community and follow no set form or rituals. All these activities, followed by hundreds of thousands of people internationally, are also carried out in different neighborhoods right here in PNG, in more than 100 local level government areas known in the Baha'i administration as clusters. These activities are aimed at transforming people by building their capacity to know and worship God, to obey His laws, and to be of service to humanity. The Baha'i community of more than 40,000 believers know that this is the only way that man will change and bring about the kingdom of heaven on earth, as Christ revealed in a prayer and fulfill the vision of Baha'u'llah of the unity of all mankind. This is the vision that Baha'is all over the world are working towards and which the government of Islamic State of Iran opposes. The National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Papua New Guinea acknowledges with pride and gratitude our country's national constitution, which guarantees the human rights of all its citizens, especially the freedom of religion enjoyed by our people. Baha'u'llah says that the purpose of religion is to unite all the people of the world, and that throughout history, God had sent his messengers or prophets with this same message. The National Spiritual Assembly therefore acknowledges and thanks the government of Papua New Guinea for consistently voting 4 times with the free world in support of resolutions against the serious ongoing and recurring human rights violations perpetrated by the Islamic State of Iran, in spite of promises made to the United Nations General Assembly since 2010, and believes it will do so again at the forthcoming session at the 69th UN General Assembly.
And that's all we have for this episode. Awesome 1M will return after the Pacific Games. But in the meantime, if you have any stories or comments, please keep them coming via the address on your screen or visit us on our Facebook page. Until then, enjoy the Pacific Games.